All right, guys, I found a rather interesting article. Juan Soto trade rumors ranking the 29 other MLB teams and their chances of landing Soto. And basically what this list boils down to is 5 teams have a legitimate shot, at least right now, at landing Soto. Of course, a lot of this has to do with the financials, including Patrick Corbin, Steven Strasburg, things like that. But I'm just going to run down this list, give my take on it. Maybe a little bit of a surprise at the number 1 overall spot. So tier 1, we're just going to roll through this. They're not going to pay for them. These teams, Athletics, Mariners, Rays, Pirates, Guardians, Brewers. I think the Guardians have the best farm system in baseball, but obviously it makes no sense for them to give up their entire farm system for 2.5 years of Soto. It would be kind of cool to see Soto and Jose Ramirez on the same team, but yeah, so these teams they can't afford it. There's no way it's going to happen. Brewers also there. I saw a few mock trades by Brewers fans on that, trade value site of them getting Juan Soto, but don't they have Yelich on a massive deal? There's no way they can afford both of those. Rebuilding teams, Royals, Reds, D-backs, Orioles, Rockies, Tigers, no chance. Makes no sense. These teams are in some sort of rebuild. It just does not make logical sense. Tier 3, something is missing. Cubs, Rangers, White Sox, Angels, Twins, Padres. So I've heard a few things about the Rangers possibly being interested or being a team that's been kind of floated out there, but I agree. Number 1, the Rangers. Marcus Semien, horrible contract. Corey Seager, bad contract. I have no clue what they were doing. That's a situation where they just wanted to spend money to spend money. And giving those contracts out made no sense. Although I do like Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker that they have now. That's pretty cool. Drafting him number 3 overall. And Leiter was picked 2nd overall. Man, I didn't know the Rangers have been that bad. The Rangers had the number 2 overall pick, and then this year they had the number 3 overall pick. But these teams, there's very little chances whether they don't. A lot of these teams just don't have the farm system to do it, generally. And then tier 4, you're not trading in division, Realistically, the Nationals would probably want to trade Soto to the AL, but definitely not in division. So the Braves, Phillies, Mets, it's not happening. Tier 5, big market contenders, but... And then it's got the Astros, Blue Jays, and Red Sox. Soto would make sense for any of these 3 teams, all competitive and based in major media markets, but we wonder if their front offices would be willing to commit to the contract he'd demand. So the Astros, I think there's no way, or very likely not, and the Astros don't have the farm system anymore to really give a package for Soto, unless they included major league talent, which would be counterintuitive. The Blue Jays, I could see the Blue Jays going crazy. They've got a really good catching prospect. So I could see them maybe if, they really wanted to make a run at it. Although, if you're committing to Soto, where does that put you with Bichette and Vlad Jr.? You're going to have to pay both of them. Red Sox at 6. Yeah, right now, with the Red Sox and the way they're trending, I think they're going to sell at the deadline. So... And I think they're going to trade Xander Bogaerts. That's my projection. They're going to re-sign Devers to a massive contract. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that, and then they will be trading, in my opinion, Xander Bogaerts to get as much as they can for him. I would not be interested in extending Bogaerts long-term. His value as a shortstop as he ages, it's going to be a real bad contract, in my opinion. But here we go. Tier 6, the top 5. The Mariners at number 5. The Mariners make sense on paper. They have a good farm system. They have few long-term commitments. They have a hyperactive general manager who has every reason to push the pedal to the metal to end the sport's longest playoff drought. And they do have several top prospects. Marte, although recently Marte seems to be down a little bit. Kirby and Brash, I don't think the Mariners are going to do this. In my opinion, it would just be a lot of money. Remember they gave Cano that massive contract? I think they're just going to wait for Julio and lock him up. Although the Mariners are in an interesting window right now where Julio Rodriguez is probably going to be a superstar next year. And he's not even close to arbitration. So it's almost like now is the time to go for it while Julio comes into the MLB as a superstar. You're going to get elite elite seasons out of him, making very little money. You've got a really good farm system. That would be interesting. You don't have a lot of commitments. The Mariners are a dark horse to watch. Interesting team. The Giants at number 4. We've talked about them. It says that they don't have the prospect war chest that some of the competitors do to take on Soto, meaning they might have to also trade for Corbin to make it up. But the Giants are certainly an interesting team. I was actually just brainstorming ways, if the Yankees trade for Soto, ways they could also keep Aaron Judge. And I was thinking to myself, this is just a far out there thing. You know, this offseason, the Yankees only want to have 3 mega contracts. What if the Yankees traded Giancarlo Stanton to the Giants this offseason? You have Soto, you're going to lock Soto up, you re-sign Judge, and you have Cole. Those are your 3 mega contracts. I think Giancarlo Stanton is a negative trade asset at this point. That's why they probably can't do it. But the Giants, I feel like, would be a good fit for Giancarlo Stanton. If the Yankees really wanted to try and keep Juan Soto to a long-term deal and sign Aaron Judge to a long-term deal, you know, you would have to give up Giancarlo Stanton or Cole, and at that point I would give up Stanton, because you're not going to have 4 mega. If they got 4 mega contracts, that's a massive payroll. And then number 3, it is the Yankees. So it says we are legally obligated to include the Yankees near the top of the list because of their finances and their history. And they also they've got significant prospects. They don't have the best farm system in baseball, but I think it's definitely strong enough to possibly facilitate a Juan Soto deal, depending on if they also want to take Patrick Corbin. The Aaron Judge situation is very interesting. I do not think Brian Cashman is interested in giving Aaron Judge a 7 or 8 year contract, for $350 million. It's bad business. It's a bad contract. It's going to be a sunken contract in 4 years. Aaron Judge is big. He gets injured a lot. He's not going to age well. They're looking for a way to pivot, and Juan Soto could be the superstar that allows them to pivot. Give him the massive deal. Let Aaron Judge walk if you can somehow land him. Again, it's not like the Yankees have. If the Yankees had like 3 top 20 prospects, this all becomes easier. They have a good farm system, but they've only got 1 super prospect, Anthony Volpe. Jason Dominguez is interesting. He could turn into that, but he still needs more time in the minors to prove himself. So the Yankees are definitely in on this, I'm sure. It seems like Brian Cashman is looking for any reason not to commit 7 or 8 years to Aaron Judge at around $30 to $35 million per year. Again, it's just bad business. It is not smart to be paying Aaron Judge $37 million at his age 35 season. It's just not. That's why it's not that they even lowballed him. They gave him a fair offer, and I was shocked Judge declined it. It's just, if you're Judge, you get injured all the time. You're 30 years old. Take the $250 million, whatever it was. But he bet on himself, and I guess he'll make a little bit more, but is the risk worth the reward there? I don't think it was for Judge, but I guess it's paying off for him. Number 2, the Dodgers. So yeah, the Dodgers the Dodgers could trade for Juan Soto, and next year they would be ranked, their farm system would be ranked 3rd. I don't know how the Dodgers do it. It's every year. They traded for Trey Turner and Max Scherzer. Their farm system is back to being a top 3 farm system. They've got a superstar catching prospect, a really good outfield prospect, and, they're a team. The finances are interesting because they've got several guys. I said this in my last video. Several guys on big deals. Mookie Betts, Freeman, Kershaw's on a big deal. So it would be interesting. The Dodgers, if they got Juan Soto, Betts, Freeman, it's ridiculous. Interesting with the Dodgers. Would the Dodgers include Will Smith? I saw a recent trade. Will Smith has crazy trade value. The catcher from the Dodgers, he's a really good young catcher that can hit, which is basically unheard of in today's game. Every catcher cannot hit, but Will Smith is a prospect that can hit, and he's hitting in the MLB. And he's got crazy trade value. The Dodgers could do this deal. The Dodgers should probably be number 1. If they're willing to give up Will Smith and just go with a defensive first catcher, similar to what a lot of playoff teams. Look at the Astros catching situation. They get no production from it. And they're still really good. The Dodgers could trade. Well, I don't know if. I'm guessing the Nationals would want Will Smith, but you're going to also have to give up a lot more prospects. The Dodgers, theoretically, if you include Will Smith, they wouldn't have to take on Corbin. They wouldn't have to take on any of Strasburg. They could do this by including an MLB player. Will Smith is their starting catcher, but a lot of these teams don't need elite hitting catchers, and you're getting Juan Soto. That is interesting. If they decide they want to include Will Smith, who is in the MLB, he's not a prospect anymore. I think the Dodgers should be number one because they have the money, you would think, and they have the prospects. Wow. And then the number one team they have listed is the Cardinals due to their young outfield talent, due to several really good prospects. It's Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn, Tyler O'Neill. My question is, would the Nationals want someone like a Tyler O'Neill, like a Dylan Carlson, or would they rather just have prospects? Right, that's the only thing. The situation with the Cardinals, you've got Goldschmidt, you've got Arenado. I don't know. I wonder how big the deal they have for Goldschmidt is. So theoretically, they should have a little bit of money. I mean, Arenado has a big deal, but it's not crazy huge. Theoretically, the Cardinals draw really well. You'd think they could afford it. That would be crazy to have a three-headed monster. Goldschmidt, Arenado, Soto. Wow. And you'd be giving up Jordan Walker 100%. You'd be giving up Mate. Yeah, so I'd say right now in terms of trade packages, realistically, it's the Dodgers, Cardinals 1-2 that can realistically do this without having to, tell the Washington that, we'll take on Corbin's contract, because I don't think Washington wants that. I think Washington wants as many prospects as they possibly can get. And you're talking about the Cardinals and Dodgers with the Cardinals' young outfield MLB talent, with the Dodgers' young catcher Will Smith. Those type of players, along with all of their top prospects. Maybe even Gavin Lux. You think they would want Gavin Lux? I mean, Gavin Lux is batting ninth right now for the Dodgers. He's got significant trade value. I think the Dodgers have to be the odds-on favorite if they wanted. They just have the most assets, and it makes the most sense. I would put the Dodgers at number one right now in terms of the potential assets they can give up to where it realistically could get done by August 2nd. I'd put the Cardinals at number two, and then you're probably talking about the Giants just seems too far-fetched. The Giants' farm system is not good enough. They would have to take on a contract like a Patrick Corbin, which at that point, theoretically, if you're trading for Juan Soto, you're going to be paying him a ton of money because you want to re-sign him. You're giving up all your prospects. You don't just want 2 years of Soto. You want him for 7 years. So you're going to re-sign him. So that's two huge contracts to take on if you're the Giants. It's kind of the same thing if you're the Yankees. I guess if the Yankees gave up every piece of their farm system, like 9 of their top 10 prospects, they could trade for him theoretically without giving up, or without taking on Corbin. Or you could say, we'll take on half of Corbin's salary, and do something like that where you can trade for Corbin but only have to pay half. Maybe it'll lower Soto's cost a little bit. I think the major problem the Yankees are going to run into, you're just going to get outbid by the Dodgers if they want to include the prospects that they potentially can, and by the Cardinals. I think they would get outbid, and there's no major incentive for that. Like, Washington is not desperate to trade Soto right now because he's still, under contract for 2.5 years. They could wait till the offseason, trade him, and get a massive haulback for him. So if you're the Yankees, you're probably just going to get outbid, unfortunately, in my opinion, by both the Dodgers and also the Cardinals. Other teams, I mean, the Mariners would be interesting because, again, it's a unique situation. You don't really have any financial commitments if you're the Mariners. I guess you do have Robbie Ray that they signed. But other than that, Julio Rodriguez is so young. He's not. I would say this. If I am the Mariners, try and do something. If Julio Rodriguez is smart, he will not accept this. Try and do something with Julio Rodriguez like the Braves did with Acuna. And Albies. I mean, they swindled Acuna and Albies. They said, we'll buy out all of your arbitration, give you, quote-unquote, more money, which is a total joke, and extend your contract at like $18 million per year for like the next 7 years. If I'm the Mariners right now, I'm going to Julio Rodriguez. Think about what the Rays did with Wander Franco. It's the same thing that these teams are doing. I wonder if the Mariners try and lowball Julio Rodriguez. Julio Rodriguez just needs to decline any offer he gets from the Mariners for like the next 3 years because he's not even entered arbitration yet. You know, he's a rookie. But if I was the Mariners, I'd be like, we'll give you a freaking 10-year deal right now for $180 million. You want it? He'd probably say no. But it would be interesting. But either way, guys, it looks like the top teams, the Yankees, but they need help. The Dodgers are in great position for Soto if they want him. And then the Cardinals, due to their young outfield talent, along with the young third base prospect, Jordan Walker, who's like the youngest, top 10 prospect in the MLB right now. Extremely young talent that has got to appeal to a rebuild. A team like the Nationals trying to rebuild right now. This is going to propel the Nationals to have a top 5 farm system at the very least if they trade Soto, which has got to be something if you're a Nationals fan you got to be happy about. If I'm a Nationals fan and you trade Soto right now or in the winter, I'm happy. You won a ring with Soto. Sure, you would love for him to be a National his entire career, but the bottom line is you gave a horrible contract to Strasburg. You gave a horrible contract to Corbin. Sometimes it happens. You got a ring out of Juan Soto, okay? Be happy. You just won in 2019. You can rebuild. You can have the number 1 farm system in baseball. You got a top 5 pick this year. You're getting another top 5 pick next year. You're getting an influx of talent. Yeah, the Dodgers just have so much to offer. Like, you could offer Gavin Lux, you could offer Will Smith, and you'd be basically more than halfway there if they want MLB talent. So, the Dodgers, I think, are the number 1 team in terms of what they can give up. The Cardinals are 2, the Yankees are probably 3, unless the Mariners really want to go for it, which is an interesting proposition depending on the situation. They have the money, it seems like. Not a lot of contracts for them. And Julio Rodriguez is still going to be under a minimal salary for the next several years. So interesting situation to follow there. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.